And that should be the end of Catherine Howard. But a little over 300 years later, we have some of our palace residents living in rooms just off the gallery here. And they said they woke in the dead of night to the sound of screams.
Hello and welcome to another very special episode of Royal Walks. That's the Palace Confidential spin-off where Rebecca English and I get to unleash our inner history nerds and take you on some magnificent walks. And they don't come better than this.
This is the best school trip ever.
Tell me, where are we?
We are in the Baroque and Tudor spectacle that is Hampton Court Palace. One of my favourite places in the world. I've spent so many great school trips here, come with my parents when I was a kid. It's just full of history.
Okay, so that means lots of history and lots of spooky stories.
More than you can shake a stick at.
I'm pretty excited to hear them. Let's go.
Come on, let's go.
Look, I mean, it's just stunning, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, can you believe it's October? Look at these borders.
So beautiful, and they smell amazing as well. I wish you could smell them.
So we need centre vision.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, this is, as I say, Hampton Court Palace. Although it's a palace and a royal residence, it wasn't actually built for a king or queen. It was actually built in the early 1500s by Cardinal Wolsey, who was Archbishop of York, but also Henry VIII, senior chief minister.
Not being funny, but why is a cardinal getting something like this?
Well, this has been built on, but it was still very grand. And actually, you're right, Henry VIII wasn't very happy. He coveted Hampton Court Palace.
Yeah.
And guess what? Poor old Cardinal Wolsey. He fell out with Henry VIII.
That'll happen.
I mean, it's inevitable, isn't it?
And then who, pray tell, got Hampton Court Palace?
Well, before he died in 1530, the year before, he gave Hampton Court Palace to Henry VIII in a bid to save his skin.
Right.
Unfortunately, Henry took it and still didn't particularly like Cardinal Wolsey. And he summoned him back to London from York, and he died in 1530 on his way back. But probably not a bad thing, because Henry VIII was probably planning something pretty gruesome for him, I can imagine.
Tudor times were brutal, weren't they?
They were, but particularly Henry VIII. And the reason why he loved this place so much was, you know, over there we've got the River Thames. He could get a barge back to Whitehall, which was the seat of government then. But this brought him out of the sickness of 16th century London.
Yeah.
Which, you know, were particularly not good if you were a king without an heir.
And I have, very conveniently from time to time, taken a boat up the Thames to the pub that's just up there.
Yeah, the Mitre. Really good. They have a lovely afternoon tea there.
If you are visiting this part of the world, this is a lovely place to come and poozle around at the palace, but then there's loads of nice pubs on the river as well.
Well, look at this, Jo. I mean, this is magnificent. So this is the Privy Garden, and there's
so beautiful.
This is a faithful recreation of the garden that was here in 1702 when William III was king. And these were his apartments up there.
You know everything.
His apartments up there, so he used to like to look out over the gardens, and that is why he built that hornbeam bower over there. He didn't like the ladies promenading to clutter up his view. So he used to make them walk up and down there so he could have a beautiful view over the gardens without anyone cluttering it.
Oh, he'd be most distressed with the streets of London these days.
He'd be most distressed with us too. Come on, let's just do it. Let's just run down it just to annoy the ghost of William III.
Are we promenading?
Like actual ladies.
This is how rumours start, Rebecca English. But, you know,
but I think promenading is appropriate for here. So this is the hornbeam bower that was very faithfully recreated in 1995 by Historic Royal Palaces. And it was opened by Queen Elizabeth II. And this is where the ladies would promenade in 1702 in the time of King William III. And I have to say,
away here.
hornbeams have quite a strong relationship with the royal family as trees, believe it or not, because William and Catherine, Prince and Princess of Wales's wedding at Westminster Abbey, they had live trees in there to bring the countryside into London, and they had hornbeam trees, and they were then later replanted at Highgrove, King Charles's home in Gloucestershire.
How delightful.
Now, if that's not a fact, then I don't know what is.
I mean, honestly, the facts just keep on coming. I'm excited for what's next.
Well, this is the very atmospheric Great Hall, and this is Annabelle White, who is our palace host for the evening.
Hi Annabelle, lovely to meet you.
And you, welcome.
Lovely to
Welcome
see
to
you
Hampton
again.
Court.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Shall we go and find some ghosts?
Yeah.
You ready for it?
We are now coming towards our infamously haunted gallery.
Oh, it does look really creepy.
Does actually.
Very atmospheric.
Everywhere is, but yes, long, a little bit dingy, but dark.
Yes, well, I think that's
Yeah.
the Tudor court, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's shadows everywhere, and you never really know who's listening. That's the problem. Now, people have an idea of Henry VIII in their minds. He's big, he's wide, he's grumpy, he's had so many wives, but they just forget the fact that Henry likes to marry for love. And in 1540, that's what he did with his fifth wife, Catherine Howard. Now, she's a teenager. Henry's nearly 50. He describes her as his rose without a thorn. And it's lovely. They get married. Henry gets into this fitness regime. They come to Hampton Court. But unfortunately, it seems Catherine is getting together with one of the king's favourite members of his bedchamber staff. They're meeting in all sorts of unlikely places. A lavatory was one. Rumours are going around of the Queen's affair, and eventually it comes to the ears of the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Cranmer, and he knows that Henry will shoot the messenger. So he writes the king a note and he leaves it in the Chapel Royal, in the royal pew. Now when Henry finds it and reads it, at first he doesn't believe it. He leaves the palace in an almighty rage by boat, down the River Thames, off he goes. Catherine Howard's household are given the sack in one go. She finds herself under house arrest. And the story goes that she breaks free somehow and she runs up the gallery to the doors of the Chapel Royal, thinking if she can just speak to Henry, just plead for her life, he might not cut off her head. He might send her to a convent if you could still find one. But of course, the yeomen of the guard, who are the king's bodyguard, catch up with her. They take her by the arms and then they drag her screaming back to her rooms. Now, of course, after that, she's really on a one-way ticket to the Tower of London. She's executed on the eve of St. Valentine's Day, and it's one blow of the axe. And that should be the end of Catherine Howard. But a little over 300 years later, we have some of our palace residents living in rooms just off the gallery here. And they said they woke in the dead of night to the sound of screams. And they looked down the gallery to the doors at the far end, which of course were closed in the middle of the night. And they said they saw there the figure of a young woman. She's dressed all in white, her hair is loose down her back. She hurries to the doors of the Chapel Royal. And when she gets there, she becomes sort of blurred and distorted. And they said, uttering the most pitiful shrieks and with a face of absolute despair and terror, she hurries back down the gallery and disappears through the closed doors at the far end.
Oh my God, actual shivers down my spine.
Now, we also know from one of my colleagues who was fascinated by the ghost stories, he went through all our first aid reports for many, many years, and they are very thorough. And he worked out that of all the visitors who faint on a visit to Hampton Court Palace, the vast majority of them faint in the gallery here,
Wow.
near the doors of the Chapel Royal.
Are you going to make us walk down that
I
corridor
think
now?
that is inevitable, yes. I think on a talk like this, we will make our way down and we'll hope to get to the far end in one piece. So we're heading down the Queen's Staircase now, which is part of the new side of the palace. There would have been a Tudor staircase here originally, but this one, so you're looking at the early 1700s there for our new side.
Very modern.
Very extremely modern.
Yeah.
I do love the fact that modern here is the early 1700s. I mean, let's put life into perspective, doesn't it?
Do you?
Thank you.
Now we're standing now on the Silverstick Stairs, and I'll grant you it's not the most attractive staircase. It's not the grandest or the most beautiful, and it's not actually Tudor, but there would have been a Tudor staircase here, leading up to the top of this floor of the palace, this side of the palace, to the rooms of the Queen. And the Queen I'm going to tell you about now is Jane Seymour, wife number 3. In fact, Henry and Jane had got engaged here at Hampton Court the day after Anne's execution, Anne Boleyn's execution. That's quick.
He's a quick mover, wasn't he?
He was quick.
Henry
10 days
VIII?
later, they were married. But he needed to be quick because this is going to be one of his shortest marriages, and it comes to a very tragic end. Because 488 years ago, yesterday, Queen Jane Seymour was in her rooms up there, giving birth to Henry's long-awaited son and heir, our future King Edward VI. Now, it was a difficult labour. It took 3 days. Eventually, the young prince was born. Now, he was carried off very quickly for a magnificent christening in the Chapel Royal, and church bells rang out, bonfires were lit, cannon volleyed from the tower. Henry cried, he was so happy, and Queen Jane Seymour started to feel unwell. And just 12 days after the birth of her prince, Jane Seymour died. And then after 3 weeks, so courtiers could come and pay their respects, her remains were taken to Windsor Castle and buried in the Chapel of St George. And Henry joined her later on, which is perhaps why she's thought to be his favourite wife, the mother of his son and the wife he was buried next to. Well, maybe that one. Now, of course, that should be the end of Jane Seymour. But again, in the Victorian period, so talking 1860s, there were reports circulating in the popular press about residents here having problems keeping their staff. Their staff tended to run away, giving in their notice with no notice at all because of the strange things they could hear and see, particularly at this time of year, October. Now, they said they woke in the night to the sounds of footsteps creaking on the floorboards outside their rooms. And either they opened the door and there was nothing there, or sometimes when they opened the door onto the landing, they could see a figure. Now, this figure was more particularly seen coming down this staircase here, making her way down this staircase and then out through into our court. Now, what unnerved these people more than anything at all, more than the sight of the figure herself, who had apparently a beautiful shining face, was the fact that she lighted her way with a lighted taper, so a naked flame like a candle. And they said as they watched her coming down a staircase going into a draughty courtyard, they said that flame never flickered. It remained absolutely fixed. So it's for this reason that they were quite happy to give in their notice and get away from Hampton Court Palace very quickly. Now, the story is, of course, that this is Jane Seymour descending her rooms and going in search of her baby prince, little Edward. Interestingly, a few of my colleagues, as they've passed the chapel at night time, having done it hundreds of times, come to a stop right by the doors of the chapel and said they've been fixed there by this intense sadness or this dread of something terrible beyond.
Gosh.
And one even heard and saw the doors to the Chapel Royal being shaken violently in the middle of the night. Nobody else is there. And many of my colleagues, I have to say, are not believers in ghosts. At least they're not until something happens to one of them. I think now we're going to make our way back through the doors and round again into the new side to Fountain Court.
Okay.
This way.
I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight, Rebecca.
I literally have chills.
If you don't have nightmares, I'm not doing my job properly. So we've left Jane Seymour on the Silverstick Stairs and we've come now into the beautiful Baroque Fountain Court designed by Sir Christopher Wren for William III and Mary II. Well, I'm not going to talk to you about them yet. Okay. In the 1860s, Lady Hildyard was the resident in the rooms just through here. And she was a widowed lady, she lived by herself, and yet in these rooms she had the feeling that she wasn't always entirely on her own. Now, she told her friends about this. She said she'd heard fingers tapping, scraping at the wooden panelling of her room. Now, these were good friends, so they told her to confide her fears to the Board of Works. Now, their responsibility was the maintenance of the palace. She let them know what the problem was, and their response was, it was a little dispiriting because they said their jurisdiction did not extend to the spirit world. Thank you very much. Now, a couple of years later, their jurisdiction very much extended to the drainage, and they were digging up this area of the courtyard here to get to the drains, and they discovered, really quite near the surface, 2 very well preserved adult male skeletons. Now, this is the age of
I've just got a
the
bit
Gothic novel.
Yeah,
the story quickly sprang up. These are 2 cavaliers, very romantic supporters of Charles I, and they'd met their end helping Charles I escape from Hampton Court Palace in 1647, which is a great story. We know Charles I was here under house arrest. We know he escaped. So the question you have to ask yourselves is, if this was true, how could it possibly be the case that Christopher Wren's workmen, who were here, not even 50 years later, building the Baroque palace, how did they fail to uncover these 2 relatively fresh cadavers? Well, what we do know is that when William III and Mary II arrived at Hampton Court Palace, they wanted it completely rebuilt. They wanted to get rid of all the Tudor buildings, bar the Great Hall, and build in this grand Baroque style. Now, the first range to go up was the South Range, just over there, and they built too quickly in winter. The mortar didn't set properly, and very quickly that South Range crashed back down, taking some of the workmen with it. 2 of the workmen were killed in that fall of masonry. And there is a record in the works accounts of the payment, a very substantial payment made to one James Groves, the master carpenter. Now, the payment was to cover the cost of the doctor's fees and then for the burial of the 2 unfortunates who died in that collapse. There was evidence of quicklime in the grave, which of course you find on building sites. Quicklime is very good at helping bodies to decompose. We might wonder, and I wouldn't want to throw stones at poor Master Groves, but you might wonder if he perhaps pocketed part of that fee and buried his 2 unfortunates under where he's about to lay his new courtyard and got rid of them really quickly. So the good news for Lady Hildyard is that once these skeletons are taken away and buried with all proper rites in the local church, after that, peace reigns in her apartment and all is well. No more tapping and scraping of invisible hands.
Oh, that's really creepy.
And does anyone still live in these apartments?
No, so we had an age of grace and favour, which really came to an end in the last few years, but certain staff are fortunate, maybe unfortunate, depends on how you look at it, to live on site. Certain jobs come with accommodation on site. And so, yes, we're waiting to hear with some of our more recent arrivals if anything supernatural does happen.
Annabelle is so good. Like, she tells stories. She's brilliant, but God, that gives me shivers down.
Yeah, it was great, but I want to go now. Bad enough. Did you hear that?
Yeah, right, let's go.
Come on.